Okay, you're all right. All right, gentlemen. So I am, again, James Turner. I am very, very happy that we started this. This is something that I do on a regular basis, that I present to people about mental health services and therapy. And I'm a licensed clinical social worker, but most people don't know what licensed clinical social worker means. So I tell people it's basically counseling. But one of the reasons why Paul called me today was he said he wanted to make sure that men knew that it was okay to have counseling. And not only counseling, but Christian counseling. And so one of the things that I tell people is that men have a tough time dealing with counseling. I've been doing counseling for 12 years, and I had to do some research. And the research that I did was I realized that it's not just men don't know about counseling, it goes back into the history. And the history of it is it's called cultural. And when I say cultural, I'm talking about more so specific of gender. So, just so I know what I'm talking with, who here is married? Oh, wow, excellent, excellent. Who here is a father? Excellent. Okay, so growing up, a lot of you all grew up tough guys, and it's still tough guys. And oftentimes what tough guys means is I don't talk about my feelings. And when I don't talk about my feelings, then where do those things go? And oftentimes when I am trying to deal with something, it just stays within me. So as we grow up, you know, if you fall down, get up, you know, brush yourself off, don't cry. If you are athletic and you play sports, pretty much what happens is majority of the sports you play are aggressive sports. Anybody do any cheerleading? See, you laugh, but the bottom line is some guys actually do cheerleading, but even the whole fact of me asking that question, it kind of sounds like, you know, it's not a tough thing to do. And so again, one of the things that, you know, we're charged to be are these tough guys. So speaking about your feelings oftentimes is not something that we're taught, basically. So let's talk about the opposite side. Females are taught to express their feelings. They're taught that, you know, how do you feel, you know, what's going on, and so when we get married, what happens?
They talk, they don't.
Absolutely. And this is informal. I'm just using the mic because I don't have a loud voice. But this is informal, so talk back to me. So again, you know, we're trying to figure out how does this thing work? Because, you know, they tell you, well, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Or you don't tell me your feelings, or, you know, we're trying to figure this thing out, but yet we don't have the tools. Let's talk about another example of this cultural thing I'm talking about. Oftentimes, when we have an ailment or something is bothering us, what happens? We just kind of ride it out until it feels better. You know, we don't necessarily go to the doctor on a regular basis. We don't necessarily go to the doctor if something's bothering us. Why? Because it's the tough guy thing. I don't have time to go to the doctor because I have all this stuff going on with my workload and, you know, my job. So when it's something bothering us, oftentimes who tells us to go to the doctor?
Why?
See how uniform that is? This is common. This is not anything that I'm pulling out of the hat. This is what research is telling us. This is the reason why this is so important. because we need to be kicked, pushed, punched to get to the doctor. Let alone when you're talking about my work, when you're talking about mental health. Because again, most people are not going to push you and get you to mental health. Instead, what happens? The behaviors show. The behaviors tell us now, okay, well, it's time that you have to go. It's time that you need these services. What are some of the behaviors? Some of the behaviors are not eating, not sleeping, loss of appetite. I don't want to talk to my good friend Mark that I talk to on a regular basis. I don't want to go to work. I don't feel like being around people that can give me good advice. I start to have illicit sex. I start drinking. I start smoking. Now I'm keeping it real. I tell people, I'm one of the ones that I don't hide behind clinical jargon, and I believe in being straightforward. And oftentimes as men, even though we're sitting next to each other, we won't talk to each other. Again, going to that whole thing that we talked about before. We don't tell people our feelings. So what do? We do these things to help us negatively cope with things. Negatively cope. So if I'm isolating myself from my brethren, and I don't want to talk to my wife because she already gets on my nerves, so now look how far I am from getting help. And then one of the most important things is that when I feel this way, I don't even want to talk to God. I don't want to talk. We talked about communication and mental health, so I don't feel like talking about my problems because I'm taught not to do that. So now what is it about? It's about I need help. And the help that I'm wanting to receive, the counseling, why do I want Lee? Why do I want to come talk to Lee about my problems? Have you been through what I've been through? Or, hey Paul, can you relate to me? And, why should I talk to you about what's going on with me? And furthermore, I don't want you to know my business. Because I don't want you to know that I have a tough time, communicating with my lady. I don't want you to know that I have a erectile dysfunction issue. I don't want you to know that I'm having a tough time with bullying in school. Because we're taught to be tough. I don't want to talk about that. And on top of that, I'm feeling depressed, but I'm taught that depression is weak. So I don't want to talk about these things until I'm forced to do it. Until I'm forced to do it. And so that's not healthy. And that's what we've been saying before, is that medical help, one of the pastors said, he said, I was having a heart attack, and the first thing that you would do if somebody's having a heart attack is what? Call 911. Did anybody have the thought of praying? So it's a conflict, right? Because 911 is who?
Man, where does that emergency?
Right. So why am I calling them? Because I have an issue. So if I call 911, what are they going to do? Because if I pray about it, what is he going to do? It's the issue. It's the conflict. So if I make this decision and nothing happens, then what? And that's oftentimes what we're battling with. If I go talk to this guy, I don't really like him, then what? I'm stuck. So the energy that I had to come talk to somebody, now that says, well, I told you this stuff doesn't work. But oftentimes, how do guys come to my office? I don't even feel like, just tell me about yourself. Who are you? What do you, I don't even know why I'm here, to be honest with you. I don't really feel like I have a problem. Y'all know what it is, yeah. I don't really feel like I have a problem. I don't even think this thing is going to work. My wife told me to come here, so I'm just going to come and, if it works, it works, Tell me how you're feeling. No, that's not the way it goes. That's how most people think. They come in, sit on the couch, and I ask you how you feeling. That's not how it works. How it works is that just like when you go to the doctor, first thing we find out are what are your symptoms. Then when we find out what your symptoms are, then we find out what's the best way to treat you. And oftentimes we don't want to be labeled. I don't have a diagnosis. There's nothing wrong with me. So again, we have to break that cycle. That is a cycle that needs to be rebuked. That holds us back from our blessings. I can't tell you how many times in the Bible it talks about your mind. Renew your mind. That God is telling us that the devil's after what? Our minds. He's after our minds. So if we don't guard our minds and understand how important our minds are, we're in a world of trouble. We're in a world of trouble. So mental health. Mental health is, again, treating the mind. Treating when there are problems with your mind. So it's something that you have to understand, that men are the spiritual leaders of the home. Is that correct? Yeah. So if our minds are not good, the whole cliche, if the head is not working properly, then the body can't function. So this is very important that we have to. It's not just for us. It's not because I don't want to go to talk to some therapist about my problems. It's because if I don't, then what is my son going to see? This is what happens to us. We see our dads do it, or the lack thereof, and then it's passed down. That we don't talk. And we're still tough guys. And then what do we do as parents? Because I ask you guys as fathers, what do? Pass it right on down. There's no need to talk to anybody. So, but when they see us, say, hey, you know what? Tell me what happened at school today. And I can't fix it because I'm a parent, and sometimes our children don't listen to us because it's okay for them to go to a counselor that's someone neutral. Just like me as a therapist. A lot of times I can't tell my daughter something. She needs to hear it from somebody else. And that's sometimes the issue. So when they hear it from somebody else, now it's valid. But again, this is something that is very important. That they see that, okay, well, it's okay to express our feelings. So I'm going to do something real quick because I'm going to be out of time. Chris, what's that? Pastor Joseph, what's that? All right. Does anybody see this as a piece of paper? You did. So if I got to you, you would have said a piece of paper with a dot on it. Does anybody else see that? A piece of paper with a dot on it? Okay. So I bet some of your wives see the same thing. Peacemaker with a dot on it. But us, we see the dot. You got me? I saw that light bulb, yeah. That's important. Because again, what's happening is that our wives see this and we see this. Our children see this. Fathers, we see this. So again, another thing for a therapist, for a premarital, marital therapist, that's what we do. This is not common. We teach you there are differences. There are differences between an abstract and a concrete communicator. Abstract is the one that does a lot of talking to get to the point. They process and they analyze. Concrete is the one that it is what it is. They don't do a lot of talking to get to the point. They go right to it. You follow me? Yeah. The bottom line is the one that says the dot is concrete because all they see is what you showed them. Process, analyze, think of the whole picture, abstract. So this is not common knowledge. This is something that you don't talk about or think about every day. But when you are looking to grow as a man, as a Christian man, it's very important that these problems don't stop because you're trying to, work them out and it's not working, and you're trying to work it out and it's not working. That's what help is for. We're trained to do this. So counseling is beneficial. Christian counseling is better. Thank you for your time.
Amen. Brother Turner. Amen. If we could walk away with something, give us 2 or 3 things we could walk away with from this conference that you would give us as a counselor, as a Christian counselor.
Well, the first thing is that it seems like everybody was married. So the first thing is that our differences are very important, and we have to acknowledge those. So with being a concrete and abstract thinker, if you want your wife to think the way you think, that's not good. It's vice versa. If your wife wants you to think the way you think, that she thinks, that's not good. Individuality is important. So allowing your mate to think the way they think and allowing them to allow you to think the way you think. That's number one. Number two, it's very important to understand that being unhealthy in your mind is not good. Most people can feel it. Most people know it. But their symptoms of avoidance is a defense mechanism. And that's training your mind not to get help until, again, it's a disaster. So run from the avoidance and come to therapy. I also have material on the front counter, my contact information and a brochure. If I can't help you directly, I would definitely refer you to some other therapists. And number 3, the main thing is that we're men, and men are the head of a household. And again, like I said, if the head is not working, how can the body function?
Thank you. Amen.
Amen.